Hi, everyone. Welcome to FeatureOps Summit. My name is Michael Franti. I'm very excited to be here today for this fireside chat with Cédric Radicia. Cédric is a lead developer at Allianz Tech. Prior to Allianz, he was with Expedia and Verbo. And really combines experience running massive scale consumer brands as well as enterprise technologies. And we're going to lean into that experience and really understand how he's helped build a culture of feature ops in all of those companies to increase speed and to reduce risk. So very excited, and let's go ahead and jump in. My first question for you is this Feature Ops Summit, which is that you've been involved in feature management long before feature ops was a term. Um, and looking back, I'm kind of curious what problem you were trying to solve before maybe we had a name for it.
Yeah, in fact, for me, I was not aware about the feature of ops naming before. But what I can say on that is really simple. I've learned like A/B testing and feature flag at Expedia because Expedia has really this culture when you go on that company is always made around that. You cannot deliver something without do an A/B testing or feature flag. That's why I've learned all of that. But you have mentioned something really interesting during the introduction. In fact, I have worked at Expedia because of several acquisitions. At the beginning, I was working in a little startup with 100 people, so it was really a little one. And after we have moved to 2,000 people and to 20,000 people. So I have really lived this evolution in terms of just a way to work on a company, but also a way to experiment stuff like feature flag, because feature flag and A/B testing ID is really more for big company 10 years ago. Right now, it's not the case, but 10 years ago, it was pretty new. We were not aware about that. So we have discovered this thing. And about the feature flag, the feature ops question, the main idea and the first idea we had with the A/B testing, it was just to change a button like a star or button on an email stuff we are sending to the customer. And it was the basic idea of the feature flag. And after that, we have learned, uh, yeah, we can do a bit more of that. I mean, not just test what the customer wants, but uh, it's possible to do a rollback. It's possible to migrate a big thing. And at Expedia, for example, we have done 30 acquisitions before, so 10 years ago. And for that, we need to find a way to migrate all the project. And the feature flag was really the way to solve it.
Yeah, it's I want to dig into that a little bit and make sure that I understand and that our audience understands. I think thinking about this transformation effort that you've lived firsthand, many organizations that want to become more agile, I think see implementation of something like DevOps or CI/CD and automated deployments as the end goal.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm kind of curious from your perspective of someone that's really embraced feature ops, where do you see that DevOps has left off, and why do you need this other set of practices around feature ops?
Yeah, for me, the feature ops of DevOps is not only part of CI/CD, because early in stage you have to think about the process, how to automatize all the things you want to push. So, and of course, you have also cost when you want just to clean your code after the result of the feature flag or A/B testing, just to keep the only version you want. So I think feature ops is more a way or a lifestyling, I would say, to say, okay, how we organize all the departments together just to have the best customer experience. How the customer can choose why they want without asking. So it's not only on the CI/CD you can do that. It's with discussion with the product, with the business, with the dev. And together, we can, for example, the dev can propose something to automatize the things for the product, etc., until the end of the chain. So that's why, for me, it's not only CI/CD.
Okay. Interesting. And I want to pick up on something that I think you just said. It had come up in kind of one of our pre-calls. You said something that really struck with me, which is that shipping software and creating business value are not the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you can kind of share maybe an example where you worked with a team that was successfully deployed something, but still didn't achieve the goal that shipping was supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. It's still deeply linked with the organization, but the idea I have in mind when you talk about that, and with the previous call we have already talked about, it's about the VRBO migration. Because as I said, at Expedia, we have just acquired 30 company around the world, and the most valuable company was called VRBO. But we were just displaying all the Expedia brand under HomeAway brand. And we have tried to switch on VRBO multiple times. So to do that, it was not super easy, but it was like a work to migrate the project. But it was more difficult to give the idea to the customer. VRBO is exactly the same thing like HomeAway. And for that, this is a more difficult part, because you can push on the button and display the VRBO brand with all the thing, with exactly the same thing like Expedia wants. But the customer say, no, I don't want to go on that website. So you have to learn to the customer how to do that. I remember Steve Jobs said, people don't know why they want until they show it to them exactly what they want. And that's really the case. So you can succeed just to do the technical part, but the customer can just refuse that at the beginning. And I
Yeah.
think the migration to VRBO took maybe 5 years to be really good. So yeah.
Yeah, this is as an American, I think we call the VRBO brand Verbo. It's kind
Yeah,
of like Airbnb alternative, is that right?
exactly. This is a competitor or Airbnb. So
Yeah. Yeah, so like massive scale application and kind of the desire was to, okay, let's get everybody over. Was it migrating the HomeAway experience to Verbo?
yeah, we are migrating all the things from HomeAway to VRBO, but in fact it was exactly the same. But I think VRBO was just bringing 50% of the money at HomeAway. So it was a huge company in terms of money, but not the best one in terms of design.
Yeah. And the challenge was like the technical fix of just like swap everything over and just like, now the experience that you were having before on HomeAway.com, it says Verbo at the top. But that
Exactly.
created friction with users where people were like, wait, I thought it was on this website, but why am I on this website? And the yes, the business goal could be achieved by like just doing the migration, but
Yeah,
actually if all of your users end up not booking a stay because they're having an experience that's not what they're expecting, then revenue goes down even if like the technical requirements have been met. Is that right?
exactly. And in fact, we have bet multiple times with the product. And for example, yeah, it will work for sure. And at the end, when you click on the button, you see the result. For example, in that case, it's to keep exactly the same number of users. So we are just measuring in time the number of customers on the website to see if it's working well. We have done a first test on mobile application for 1% of the user, and it was not good. So in fact, what you have in mind is not the reality. And as a customer, we are doing exactly the same thing sometimes. For example, we have a French brand called Le Bon Coin. Uh, Personally, I think it's a bit ugly, but it's work. If tomorrow Le Bon Coin change everything and it's more beautiful, people will say, "Oh, Right now, it's like American stuff. We don't want to go on that. It's the French spirit, but yeah, it's like that. So you have to
Yeah.
try to do that in a different way.
Yeah, it's kind of many designers have, like, famously redesigned Amazon.com's
Yeah,
shopping cart and things like that, and it's like, y you kind of it's not a personal, like, art project, right?
exactly.
It's a business, and those changes, you have to understand what you're trying to get out of it, and one of the things that we've observed, I'm kinda curious from your perspective as a very senior engineer, if you are seeing this transition as well, is engineering really used to be about how do we build the thing right? What's the right way to code it, to scale it, to operate it? But what that thing is, right? Is it the right thing? That was a product management decision. So you had product management, which was very close to the business. You have engineering, which is like implementing kind of the business requirements. Business requirements come in,
Yeah,
engineering implements and runs them. And now with AI, we're starting to see engineering teams be much more involved in the is are we building the right thing phase of it? Because that's really where the in some ways, the most challenging part is it's not the coding anymore, it's the, "Are we building the right thing?" Is that your experience as well?
to be honest, when I start this job, I would say in terms of informating stuff, I was like, okay, I will write some requirement and I will develop that with the best technical things I have in mind. And I have realized, in fact, before all the feature flag and all that story, you have to be close to your product uh, because the product is more involved with the business and the project and how it's work in the real world. But the technical guys or the dev like me uh, know how it's possible, what is possible to do, and what is not possible to do. What you can do on the web, what you can do on a mobile application, and so we have all the thing in mind. So if the dev and the product work in their side, it's not working. So we have to be 1% thinking with the two ID. And that's why even before the feature flag and A/B testing, I was working closely to the business guys or the product. It's depends on
Yep.
how we work. But um, and with the feature flag, it's really more important today because what we can do as a developer is when the business proposes you something, you can propose another thing and test both in parallel. And at the end, who will be the winner? It will be the customer because the customer will show, okay, this part is good. Sometimes it will be the product one, sometimes it will be the dev one, but at the end, the customer will be the guys winning in this story. So, and with the IA, it's really more important right now because we are moving too fast, I would say. And if we want to keep the control on that, it's more important to have this feature flag stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually it's a great segue to the next question I wanted to ask you, which is kinda going up a level from kind of the feature flags to kind of this experimentation-driven culture. And Expedia is, from my reading, one of the most experiment-driven companies in the world. And I'm kinda curious, from your perspective, how that experiment changed the relationship between engineering, product, and business teams.
No, as I said, I've not changed a lot, but it's maybe more personal because I often see like developer working on their side and just resolving tickets. I think, and I often say that to my team, this is the difference between a dev and one engineer. The dev is just doing like a monkey what is written on the ticket, but the engineer can say, no, I'm not totally agree about the business proposal. Maybe there's something different we can propose. And at this moment, you can say, and again, a feature flag, it's a tool in that case. So you can say, I have another proposal. What do you think if we do that? And at the end, with the discussion with the product, you can have maybe 1, 2 quick case, and you can say, okay, we will keep the two first one, experiment that during 2 weeks maybe, analyze all the results, and keep the only best one. And that's maybe one powerful tool we have right now to discuss and work together with the product.
So it kind of creates a common language where you can
Exactly.
identify what success looks like versus it being my opinion or your opinion, or I think this one looks better, or no, I think this one looks better.
Exactly.
Who gets paid more, so they win, right? It
Yeah.
creates a
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think in that business, developers sometimes are a bit arrogant. They know
oh
more
really?
than the other. Yes, that's very true. And I think we have to be like, we need to think for who are we working, and the finality is the customer. And sometimes you are fighting, not fighting, but with your wife, you have a different point of view, and you say, no, it's me, and no, and at the end, you have one best solution, and you have the possibility to test that in the real world with A/B testing and make the best choice. So that's why I think it's really important, not only for the dev, but also for the product to have this kind of system.
Yeah. Um, well, at Unleash, we're big fans of metrics, as most developers are. And that's kind of one of the core ideas behind FeatureOps is that
Yeah.
you should have a metric in mind for every change, and every change should be measurable. But then the question becomes like, which metrics? And I'm curious from your perspective, how you think about measuring success, what metrics have been important for you, and more how you think about it, because I think the specific metrics are going to be different depending on the product. But like, how do you think about engineering metrics, conversion metrics, product metrics, like all of these things?
Yeah, that's really depend of the test. If you do like Expedia do, I mean, each development need to be under an A/B testing. Maybe it's too much, and it's hard to follow all the metrics. But you have different kind of metrics, like for example, with the product, you can measure the open rate for the email stuff. But as I said, for the migration, we want to keep the same level of user without losing anyone. So it's another one. I remember before release a new feature, for example, we were working on a Splunk dashboard. So and you have talked about the size of the company, but Splunk is very expensive, so I have worked on that on Expedia, and after when I have worked on the startup, it was not possible. But the goal was to, we were working in open space with lots of TV in each corner, and the goal was to create a dashboard with all the metrics in live, just to know who will be the winner of an A/B testing, if the metrics are good for example, the feature in place, and for a technical perspective, for example, if you need to roll back immediately. That means if the dashboard is red everywhere, we probably need to click on a button and roll back directly, just to work without any pressure, find the best fix to do that. Because I often see that when you don't have a feature flag stuff, but people push that in production, they realize a bit late something happened wrong, and they try to do a fix immediately. And maybe the fix will have some side effect, and it will not be done good for the one. And yeah, and we are in the loop, and at the end, the customer don't come again. So that's why it's really important to have metrics for technical side, but also for the business.
Yeah, we call this within the FeatureOps framework, full stack experimentation, which is this idea that better better depends on your perspective. There's an old story of like three blind men and an elephant, and like they're each holding on to a different part of the elephant. One's got the trunk, and he thinks that it's a snake, and the other one has the tail, and he thinks it's a vine, and then the other has like a leg and thinks it's a tree, and they're all right. Well, actually, they're all wrong. but it's the same thing. It just has these different aspects. And so if
Exactly.
I'm an engineer and I'm thinking about like error rates or latency as the thing that's going to define good, but then we have a faster product that leads to fewer conversions on the business side, have we've made some improvements, but we've also stepped backwards. And like having that common framework, I think where you look across that full stack is very important.
Yeah, yeah. It's in fact there are not like good solution for everything, but you have to keep the control, and to keep the control, you need to have tools, and yeah, that's mainly why feature flag it's a tool that I used to work, for example, with Xstate tool with shard. So the goal is also to provide like a shard that you can use drag and drop. So the product can play with a logic, with a visual logic, but behind it's working already into the real logic into the code. So um, there are not good answer on that. Everything is possible, but you need just to add all the tool you want just to be ready for to deliver fastly and what with what the project the customer wants.
Yeah. Well, I feel pretty proud of us. We're about 25 minutes into our conversation. We've got 5 more minutes. And I'm just now bringing up AI. So everybody listening knew it was going to happen. They're like, wait for it, wait for it. But I want to talk about AI and how if AI changes any of this. Like what's your take on, is feature ops more important now with AI? Is it less important? Like what's your take on that?
uh, I will break the mood, but I'm a bit mitigate about the IA. I think we are more productive, so we have to keep the control again. So keep the control by just have this feature flag or A/B testing ready, and in one click you can switch or just deactivate something. But in the other end, we have learned like the last model of Claude of Anthropic will be we stop decide by Trump, for example. So we have also to be careful about that. Just to say, um, even if the IA is not there, uh, we need to keep the control on the product. And if the IA is there, it will be more fast. So it's also the best reason to use it a bit more. But with IA, for example, it will be more easy to clean the code when the feature flag is validated or the A/B test is validated for one version. This will help a lot, but we need to keep in mind how to do without IA today. And that's why I think English it's a good product because it's easy to handle at the end.
Got it. Okay. Um, just digging in a little bit there. I mean, would you, in your view, you said you mentioned a couple of benefits, a couple of risks with AI. In it didn't sound to me like when we develop with AI, we need these processes, and when we develop without AI, we need these processes that are different. It sounds like the software development lifecycle is the same with or without AI. What changes is maybe the velocity. And so if we're developing without AI for reasons or in a particular part of the product, like feature ops still is useful. And if we were using AI, feature
It will
ops
be
is useful.
fast. Yeah, yeah,
It will
exactly.
faster. Got it.
Exactly. You are faster with IA. That's a fact. But you have to keep in mind how we were doing before IA. Because in fact, it was what I was talking about, the difference between dev and engineer. Engineer can just challenge how to handle a new proposal from the business. And you have to keep in mind how to do that. With IA, it should be faster. So at the end, we can do a mistake because sometimes you have like the proposal of Claude or I don't know, and you say, okay, yeah, it's good. You can go, you can go, you can go. But you have to test. You have to keep the control on that. So that's why I'm a bit mitigate about the IA. Even if this is the future, there are no talk about that. But yeah, we don't know what will be the future if we don't embed the IA properly.
Okay. Well, we've got 2 minutes, and so my last question for you is to kind of to wrap up a little bit. We have a lot of people that are watching this who work at large banks, insurance providers, healthcare companies, companies that aspire to be like Expedia
Mhm.
in terms of the experimentation culture, in terms of like the speed and agility and all of those things, and yet they bring a lot of like business context that cuts against that. Doesn't
Mm-mm.
make it impossible, but cuts against it. What piece of advice would you give for teams that work in a large enterprise that want to be more agile, want to adopt feature ops? What would your advice to them be?
Yeah, I've experimented all kind of company, startup. I've created my own company. I work on scale up, and right now in big company, so big US company and also big European company because Allianz is only in Europe but not around the world. And yeah, it's a different way to just to handle, but not only for feature flag, but for any propositions we want to propose. In startup, it's definitely more easy because you have just sometimes you're just close to the CTO or the CEO, and you can just ask to use something else. But the answer will be yes. But is it cheaper? And yeah, for startup, it's most about money, and you don't have really to convince people. In a large company, you have the money. At Expedia, for example, I have talked about Splunk. Splunk is super expensive if you want to use it. It will be in a big company, not in a startup. Uh, and to convince people, it's super politic because sometimes you need to find the decider. You have just convince a lot of people, but it will be blocked at the end because it's not possible.
Mm,
When I was working at Rico before the acquisition of Allianz, we were using Unleash because I've searched a lot for a free solution and I've not found anything. But I was in charge to migrate the claim application, the claim handler application. And for me, it was impossible just to push a button one day without any rollback possible. So I have deployed this Unleash feature to help me, and we have succeeded because we have migrate page by page all the application. Luco was really like at the end of the startup, at the beginning of the scale up, so it was more easy to do. But at Allianz today, it's more complex just to improve all that thing.
yeah. So it comes down to communication and really being able to explain the value of the product. It's not necessarily a money project, but like there are lots of things you could work on, and how do you make the argument that this is going to provide business value?
Yeah, you have governance stuff, and often you have to
Yeah.
present something
Yeah.
to be accepted.
Well, Cedric, I wish we had more time. I have a bunch more questions for you, but we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck at Allianz and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Bye bye.
Bye.